been hiding in the shadows way too long. You always thought that you were weak, but babe, you're wrong. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Think that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling, go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine. You shouldn't doubt yourself, 'cause you're a work of art. You should know that you are perfect with those flaws. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Know that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling, go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine, shine, darling, go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine. You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Shine, go ahead and shine, darling, go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine, shine, darling, go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Turn of Events, where we help put a positive spin on the future of your business. In today's episode, we're going to talk about guest experience at your event. It's more than just a photo op. I'm Annette Naif, the CEO, Creative Director of Naif Productions. We are a strategic wedding and event production company specializing in corporate, social, nonprofit, and weddings. If you are a wedding or event planner looking to start a wedding or event business, or you're struggling in your current business, you must join us in my Facebook group, Event Planner Society. It's a group full of driven, creative, and passionate wedding and event planners. We bring planners together from all around the world to network, gain referrals, improve their mindset, and build their businesses. You will get unbelievable free training from me. So go to the Facebook group, Event Planner Society, drop me a note and let me know when you've joined. I can't wait to see you there. So I'm super excited to talk with our next guest, Annie McAllister. She is the executive producer of 1540 Productions. Annie brings a wealth of expertise with 14 years of dedicated experience in event production, positioning her as an invaluable asset to the 1540 family. Her professional journey encompasses a a diverse range of projects from large-scale extravaganza to intimate gatherings, making her a seasoned professional in the world of event management. I'm very excited to have Annie with us today. Hello, Annie. How are you? Welcome.
Hello. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, I'm very excited. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about how you got into the event industry and what got you to where you are today?
I started 14 and probably now 15 years ago. I worked for a very small company when I first came to LA, and I started as the administrative assistant. And I worked my way up from that position kind of just throughout all of the different roles that you can be at a company of that size.
Yeah.
Until eventually I left the employ of that team as the executive producer of that team after 12 years of working for kind of the same group of people, which was really wonderful. And then since then, I've worked in a few different places, but I landed at 1540. I would say my 3 years will be in December of this year. And it's been a really wonderful experience so far. It's nice. I like to get into a place and stay there for quite some time to help it grow and kind of get bigger. So it's very nice to be here.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So I've been in the business for over 30 years, but I started my business 15 years ago. So I know how that feels. It's a really great industry. And obviously it's been in my blood since I was really young. So, it's kind of one of those things. All right. So let's talk about guest experience, because our clients are constantly, asking us, how can we make it better for the, for the attendees? They always want some great things. So how do you define a great guest experience?
It's not a one size fits all, which I think is really important for people to understand. You need to understand the market that you're in, the age group that you're trying to reach.
Right.
If you're working at a tent pole in consumer events like something like a Comic-Con, or if you're doing a private event that is a premiere or a party or kind of a private something like that, the experience is universal in that it should always leave the guest feeling kind of emotionally charged and like they've just been a part of something that's super unique for them.
Yes.
But what it is that ticks the box of that emotional response is something that's going to be completely unique to those circumstances.
Right, for sure. And that's sometimes really hard to determine. I mean, nowadays everyone's expecting so many big things that it's hard to, and it also depends on, what is our client? They have big dreams, but smaller budgets to deal with sometimes. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, that's a challenge, and expectations have to be, they have to understand that this is what you're going to get for this. So, so when a client asks for a wow moment, which is kind of leading to this, how do you respond to that?
That's a really special place for 1540 to function. We are looked at as kind of drivers of those moments, which is really special for us to kind of have garnered that reputation. I think the first thing that we do is we look at what the property is that we are representing, right? So the majority of our work over here is entertainment based. So we're working on movies or streaming shows or kind of programming along that vein. And there's always something really meaty within that category that we can grab onto. One of our example wow moments was our team produced the world premiere for Barbie when it came out a few years ago. And that was kind of an industry changing look at what a red carpet arrivals or pink carpet arrivals can be like.
Yeah.
So the first thing we do is we kind of sit down and understand all of the factors. Like, is the wow moment something that's visual? Is it something that's tactile? Is it something that you want people to leave with physically, like an item or a gift or something like that? And then from there, our team that's assigned to whatever the project is will sit and kind of throw spaghetti at a wall and see what we can come up with our own research. And then we do kind of a few rounds of internal presentations to ourselves, and we pick a few things we feel are moving, and then we present those. And then from there, that'll domino into whatever the final product is.
Yeah, you guys did an awesome job on that. That's really, really special. What other kinds you did? You mostly entertainment, or what kind of other stuff do you guys do?
We're super entertainment based. We do one-offs, we do private things. We'll do, like, another example is we're working on a conference right now that's for the textile industry. That's very not standard for us. We work on a couple things that are not mobile tours, not the right way to say it, but like brand tours that go to all different states in the United States. We work on like stunts for one-off, certain entities won't want to do a formal premiere. They want to do something that's more engaging with the public. So we'll sit down and come up with like, okay, we'll just do a crazy, we'll hire an insane amount of tie-dye guys for Only Murders in the Building, and they're all over Manhattan. And what are they going to do next? So there's so many different ways to look at what that moment means. And we like to help drive it. Someone doesn't always come to us and say, we want a stunt instead of a premiere.
Right.
So we kind of gauge with our best foot forward what we feel our opinion is for that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So my background started in film and television. I lived in Los Angeles for 17 years, and I've been in in New York now for 25 years. So I worked film and TV for many, many years. I was a production coordinator. So I know, I had my hands in a lot of different things as well. And then I finally came here and said, you know what, I think I'm going to try to start my own business. I should have done it, 25 years ago, but I didn't come from a background of, start your own business. My family, there were no entrepreneurs in my family. So that wasn't something you thought about. And of course, things are so different now. Everybody is starting their own business. It's just kind of the way it is.
Right.
So it makes me excited to listen to you about the premieres and things like that. So I was very much a part of a lot of that stuff. And I miss that. The entertainment business is really a lot of fun. It was a little different when I was in it many, many years ago. But it was really a fun place and a great place to get experience on doing events and weddings. And, I do obviously different things, but so it was kind of fun to talk about that. So how has the event industry evolved post-pandemic? Because it's a lot different now.
It is a lot different. I think, I was looking at that question a little bit earlier, and I feel that it merits saying both post-pandemic, but also post-strike.
Yeah.
The strike was...
Yeah, you guys got the strike bad, yeah.
It was a really big factor here in LA, not just for us, but for anybody who works in this type of environment.
Right.
Post-pandemic, I will say, at least from my experience, I feel like the community of event goers just swan dived back into gatherings. I know firsthand from our own events that everybody is really careful about still doing kind of some safety protocols and what are the tiers of making sure that staff and guests are safe. But the appetite for being together again was like tenfold after the spell of being able to do nothing. We've been at like a Comic-Con, for example, where it's 150,000 people, and there's rules for when you're on site, and then there's rules for off site, and it's figuring out what like the safest medium is between those two when you're not necessarily like an official entity of the show. But I would say that the drive and the appetite for in-person events is the same, if not 10 times stronger than it was before. I think people got a taste of what life is like without being able to have that in-person contact. And I can firsthand, we switched and started doing a lot of virtual events, and the sparkle just isn't there. You might be able to say the same things, but without that really tactile, like in your face kind of special moment. I think people are still feeling, I'm not sure what the right word is, but the luster of, hey, we get to be together again has not worn off. Like these in-person events are still quite special. And I don't think that people are sick of it or tired of it or back to the same kind of monotony of like, okay, we're zombies, let's go through this. It's still very special, and it's still very like, oh, we get to be here. So it's nice to be around.
Yeah, I don't want that to wear off, because I remember we also went virtual, like,
Right.
moved all our nonprofits, and I didn't do any weddings that were virtual. I'm mostly corporate and nonprofit, but it was, 2 years because they shut us down for a year and then it came back again. So they shut us down again and everybody was moving. So everybody moved to that third year.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to die. I'm surprised I didn't quit the industry because we were, it was like all of our clients they were just so hungry to go live. And then new people, everybody was ready to do new events now because they were, had to hold off on their events for a couple of years. I thought we were going to die. It was so, and we just kept saying yes and yes and yes. And I kept pulling people, everybody was hungry to work. So I had lots of people on my team, but it was so much to handle. And that part it's great to have the business, but I never want to work that hard again. And I've been doing this a long time. So for me, it's I'm not just starting the business. I'm just kind of wanting to wind down a little bit and do less, but make more, that type of thing.
Well, the risk to reward for virtual stuff was also the end product. Sure, you were live. And if you went live versus live to tape, at the end of the day, what the guest is seeing is the content. It's not necessarily emotionally moving, but the risk of stress on the producer's side that your entire show is hindering on one internet connection is I would prefer to never have to deal with that.
It was so, as live producers that we both are, it was so boring for me because I really had to figure out what is my role as a virtual producer as opposed to a live. And I just sort of made it up as we went. And, I had to make money somehow. So my AV team, thank God, is fantastic. And so I counted on them and relied on them. And we had meetings about where are we going with this now? And what are we going to do? And how do we offer it? So it was something else. But I have to agree with you that people are still really excited about being together. And we have, the clients aren't really asking us for the, putting things in place to, masks and temperature checks. And we're not really doing that. I think it's just more or less, none of the venues are saying you have to do any of that anymore. New York was very strict about it. But you get a handful of people that will wear masks at the event. I think it's the older ones that generally do that. But so we're kind of away, thank God, because it was a lot. It was a lot to add to an event and have to, check them in every morning and check their temperatures and different bands. It was a lot, so absolutely. But a lot of protocols in place. So I'm kind of glad to see, hopefully we're on a different track now. So, I think we just talked about this. I think people are the question is, are people wanting to be part of a large groups again, or do they still see some resistance? Are you seeing some resistance or?
We will see resistance rarely, but it will most often come from a talent group or someone you work with a particular celebrity for something who has a very strict kind of health regimen for themselves.
Yeah.
That is mostly where we see it. But as far as kind of the Gen Pop appetite for events and kind of the fan base, more of those types of experiences, I've seen people swan dive back in. And to your point, there are individuals who will still wear masks when we go to the multi-thousand person projects that we do. We definitely still see a lot of people who walk around in masks for their own sake, but that's not something that we require of people anymore.
Yeah, I'm so glad that's kind of behind us, I think. Yeah. All right, so when building the concept of the event, is there a starting point of inspiration for you?
There is. So typically, because we're very entertainment based, we have a really specific starting point. We look at all of the materials that our clients can send us for whatever the project is. So sometimes all we have is a photograph, and it's just one photograph because the show's still in production or whatever. We'll look at set photography, even if it's stills just of cabins or things in the woods. We have gotten to the point where content's not available, so we've read scripts and trying to pull what we can from those. So the first thing that we can do is we'll look at a brief. Clients will most of the time come to us with at least a half-baked idea of what they want, or they'll say, we need something that fits fans and 80 press. Like, that's enough for us to know where we're starting for the most part.
Right.
But creatively, all we need is one little nugget, and then our team is kind of off and running from there.
Yeah. Okay, great. Can you give some examples of a guest experience for those who are, we have a lot of listeners who are just starting their businesses, getting into the event industry. Can you give some examples of some guest experiences that you guys have put together?
Yes. There's so many. One of the bigger ones, we're not working on it this year. The event doesn't exist this year, but last year it was really fun. We work on a really large tour on our side called The Lodge that we do in partnership with Paramount Plus. That particular event is really interesting. So this past year in 2024, we went to 7 different stops. So that's 7 different guest experiences that all have to ladder up to the same overarching story of what the tour is. But each one is so uniquely itself on its own. Last year, 2023, was the first version of that tour, and we ended it in October by doing a Halloween version that was called Peak Screaming. That one was pretty wild. We did this massive tent, basically their version of a haunted house that people would walk through based on all of their IP, and it was in the middle of a shopping mall. So there's so many different versions of issues and solving things and uniqueness to all of these spaces. Another guest experience is we do a really big project with them at San Diego Comic-Con, which is like it's a world of its own. And then the premieres and things that we do here, you have to consider one event from the vantage point of press outlet versus a fan pen versus potentially a casted audience versus the talent versus like entourages. So the guest experience, even within one premiere, is really customized to upwards of 7 or 8 different types of people who come to just one project.
Wow, that's amazing. So is there an area of guest experience you think is most critical to get right, and why?
I would say that the entry point for any project, regardless of what it is hands down the most important first piece to consider. Where your line is, how long someone has to stand in line to do anything, even if it's just entering a building.
Right.
If there is a line that's hours long, what are you doing with those people so that they're staying engaged with your property and not on Twitter, potentially running afoul of you guys having a long line to get in?
Yeah.
I would say the guest ingress category in general across the full spectrum of what that means is priority number 1.
Yeah. That's exactly. I mean, I always say if the registration piece or, the entry piece is a mess, it's just a sign of what's to come. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you have that locked in for sure. It's great way to look at it. Okay. So what are some challenges you've faced and found success recently?
There's so many different categories. There's so many different categories of that. Like, I would say budgets are always a stress. At the end of the day, we always find a way to meet the dollar amount, whatever that is. So I don't want to dive too much into that one, but creatively, one of the biggest challenges for us, depending on the project, is the easiest way to put this is the number of cooks in the kitchen. We work with some clients where the person you're presenting to gets to be the one that makes that decision. That's always like, yay, we love that. It mitigates how many groups it's going through.
Right.
That's so few and far between. So I would say that creative proposals that have to get shopped kind of round after round to other groups of people for sign off, I would say that's one of our biggest challenges that we have here.
Yeah.
Successes in that are we work with a lot of clients who trust to put us in front of those groups of people at this point. Anytime, you know, if you're the one that's writing an idea and it's your presentation, anytime that you get to be the one that pitches it with all that heart and soul that goes into it, the better that presentation goes. So that's always a great case for us. Or, you know, I've spent time on the phone with some of our clients before where I'm like, okay, take me through this so that I know that you are understanding the concept and so that you can go sell it yourself down the road. We always find a way to get there. Creatively, I think you have to be willing to compromise at all times. It's just a rule here. You just have to be able to compromise. So
I think that's a rule in the event industry across the board.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a project might creatively be your baby, but it's not. And so you have to be able to get over whatever that feedback is. A lot of our concepts on the premiere side will go in front of the film team, like they'll go in front of the directors, and you have to take a step back and realize, like, okay, sure, this project is your baby, but it is representing this person's 10 years of their life.
Right.
And if they want to make a tweak that you don't necessarily agree with, it's their world. Like that entity is their universe, and they get to kind of have that input with you in real time, which is really special for us, to be honest. It's really nice to collaborate with people in that sense.
Yeah, it's great. So I'm sure you have a toolkit of things that you need to use. So have you developed one? If you haven't, have you developed one? And how do you produce a successful event?
I don't, like, for me personally, I don't, this is such a silly way to answer this. I'm really organized with emails. So this is, I can't even believe I'm saying this. How I organize myself when it comes to emails, I mean, you get hundreds of emails a day. And when you're in like kind of the final push for a project, it is absolutely insane how much communication there is by email, Slack, text message, phone calls. Like it is just
coming at you.
It's just coming at you. So my personal toolkit of success has been kind of practiced over 15 years, and being able to take a breath and organize all of those modes of communication in a way that is extremely successful for me. And there's no right answer to that. Like it's so deeply personal to whoever the individual is. But I would say at this point for myself, like my absolute first line of defense is my personal organization for just keeping information where it needs to go.
Yeah. So I have generally no emails in my inbox. And
I'm like you.
What's that?
I'm like you.
Yeah. And everyone's like, how? And when I see someone has like 5,000 unopened emails, I feel like I'm going to die. Like,
yeah, I agree. We're similar.
I'm like, how? I just even talking about it just gets me going. Like how anybody can, I would be so nervous about what did I miss? I'm just very efficient at working my emails, which I think is a huge thing in our business. Like and I train my team to do the same. I try to train them. I know everyone, like you said, everyone has their own way of working. But I do try to get them to, to work all the emails. We have our systems. I have great systems in place. I have, wedding systems that are crazy good because that's a whole nother animal in itself. But the emails is enough to, can really get away with you, especially when you're coming close to an event. It's going crazy. So
yeah, it's definitely a superpower.
Yeah, it's a superpower for sure. For sure.
We have a couple of kind of proprietary ways that 1540 organizes themselves that I will not divulge in case people are shopping for kind of that cheat sheet. But it is really buttoned up over here as far as kind of roles and processes. So it's really nice kind of 3 years ago to come into a place that has all of those systems in place. And I had to kind of correct my mind to work in that format. But once you do it secondhand, it's just like, well.
Yeah, it is tough, especially when you're starting your own business. I started my business. I had no idea how to set the business up. Like I had systems, I had things when I was working in, film and television and doing all that, working in corporate. But, it's a whole nother ball game when you're running your own business, and it's a lot. But so what's one piece of advice you would give someone wanting to get into events?
Don't.
Oh my goodness.
No, I mean, it's kind of funny. We interview people a lot here all the time. And
Right.
one of the things, that's kind of the closest I can get my brain to people who want to work in the event industry. And I think that things that come to mind are, there's definitely more than enough work in this industry for everybody in some way, shape, or form, kind of regardless of what the scale is, especially if you live in a town like Los Angeles where you're just in it.
Yeah.
There's more than enough space for everybody that's here, which is kind of really nice. This is also an industry that is, in my opinion, not at risk of failure. It's resilient. It bounces. There are peaks and there are valleys, but at the end of the day, this is LA, and there will always be celebrity. There will always be TV, film. Those things will continue to exist.
Right.
So it's a risky place to work in that kind of any job you have is risky, but it's not a risky place to work in that it's not like a AI entity or some tech gadget that fails. It's the entertainment industry, and it will continue to be here. So I think for anybody who is new, because it's a kind of evergreen, everlasting industries, go try other things. Go do other things and make sure that something like this is really what you want to do, because once you get into this wheel, it is fast and it's furious and it's every day, and it will last you as long as you want to work in the industry and you do a good job. Whereas other things aren't necessarily kind of that evergreen, if that makes sense. So, I suggest there's a lot of different industries where you can bring that experience, like go work in TV, like go be a PA on a production, go work in catering, like all of those different experiences will make someone a better producer at the end of the day in this industry.
Yes, for sure. I agree with that. I did a lot of different things along the way as well, like you did. But it's definitely rewarding though. I mean, it's super stressful.
Yeah.
You have to have a passion for sure. I mean, especially owning your own business, you got to have a passion, because this is a lot of work and it's a lot of stress, and you got to deal with a lot of different personalities. And that's the biggest thing is if I didn't have to deal with clients, I'd be great. Like the events are fun. The events are a piece of cake, but the clients are hard to handle. It's a lot to manage. So that's kind of it. So I just wanted to ask you, what does 1540 stand for?
So, oh boy, now I'm going to butcher it.
I didn't prepare you for that.
No, because there's so many little rumors about what it means. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it means that Craig was 40 years old when he founded it, and he'd been in the industry for 15 years. It's some combination of those two numbers that I'd have to go back and look at, but
it's cute. It's cute. I like it. It's different.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is so great. I mean, I could talk about, experiential group experiences, which are so great forever, because we're always looking for great ideas. And I work with a design team that helps, and I may contact you guys for something because, you guys can help us out with some of that stuff, which would be great. But I do a lightning round here at the end, and I'd love to ask you a couple questions if you don't mind.
Of course.
Okay, so who is inspiring you at the moment and why?
Right now, man, who's inspiring me right now? I would say the coworkers in this office, which seems like a silly thing, but like it's the holidays. And one of my favorite things about 1540 is that everybody who works here is so uniquely themselves that it is really a lot of fun to be around. And the office is getting decorated for Halloween. Everybody is starting to kind of come out of the woodwork and show their kind of holiday spirit. So I would say the people who work here it's such a melting pot of ages and races and all different manner of backgrounds, professionally, personally. There's always someone here that you're trying to snuggle up to and be best friends with, because everybody here is so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's one thing I miss is my team is great too, but they're virtual. Like, I don't have an office where everybody's at together. So I do miss that.
There's definitely even a thirst here coming out of the pandemic to be together again.
Yeah.
It is an irreplaceable professional experience.
Yeah. I mean, we see each other on Zoom all the time. I feel like we do see each other, but it's so great when we meet up at an event and we're just like loving on each other. It's great. So I do miss that. That's really great. So what is the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice, it's a little bit twofold. A long time ago, I presented a dinner place setting for a gala that we were working on. So I was doing test settings for people to come in and look at and see what they liked. Mm-hmm. And at the time, one of the designs that I loved personally was kind of poo-pooed on, and it wasn't the favorite. And I was young, and instead of taking it gracefully in stride and making modifications, I fully pouted and was like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. And legitimately, I'll never forget it. Coming out of that kind of presentation, the advice to me was, I got to take that stuff less personally. It's not personal.
Right.
And that was, in 15 years, that was probably 12, 11 years ago. It was a long time ago. I think of that almost every day. Almost
wow.
every day. It's something that'll stay with me forever, because it is true. And kind of what I was alluding to before is, you might wholeheartedly think that what you're doing is the best, but it's beautiful. There's no negating that what anybody does is the product of their hard work, but the final answer is always compromise between everybody. And we do work in an industry where at the end of the day, the client's always right. But you can stand up for things that you really believe in, but making sure that you are not personally offended by people's critiques of design or creative work is wholeheartedly kind of my most important piece of advice.
Yeah, you cannot be sensitive in this industry, that's for sure. And I am a sensitive person, but you would never know it because I'm a tough cookie on the shelf. Okay, so what are you we're coming up on November, which is insane. I can't believe it. What are you most looking forward to next year?
I'm really looking forward to, we just had our first kickoff for the next version of this big tour that we're doing. It's really fun for us to have been a part of the project from the ground up and come up with what the identity is. It takes place at the beginning of the year every year. So that's something that, it's the end of October right now. We'll, in the next couple of weeks, really start to dive into. And that's an incredibly creative process for us, because we get to develop what the brand identity is of this thing, and it will exist for kind of months on end for the whole year. So I would say that's the thing I am most looking forward to in the next year.
How many events are you working on at once, generally?
Right this second, I'm working on 3, and it kind of depends on the producer, but I think everyone here, we have a producer here who can do 10 premieres at one time. She's an absolute juggernaut.
Yeah.
It's not something that other people can do, but I think I have 3 right now, but I think most people are working on between, 2 and 5, depending on who the team is.
That's awesome. What is your favorite tool that you use in your business?
Tool. What is my favorite tool besides measuring tape? I'm trying to think. I use Illustrator a lot, me personally. That's one of the ways that I can get myself organized and understand floor plans and be really hands-on with that. So I would say honestly, probably Illustrator. It's a silly answer, but that's one of my favorite things.
That's good. That's good. I mean, it's a big part of what you do. So, Okay. So what we kind of touched on this. You said, don't get in the industry, but but aside from that, if somebody really had a passion and wanted to, what's one piece of advice you'd give to wedding and event planners who are just starting out?
This is my favorite piece of advice. It is from my favorite football team, San Francisco 49ers.
Okay.
The phrase that one of our old coaches used to say is play focused, play loose. For me, that translates into take your job really seriously, but not yourself. That's a piece of advice that I think is important for people. This job is not curing cancer. We are kind of the icing on top of the cake when it comes to parties and entertainment and things that are really fun in nature like that. And I think that it's important for everybody to take their jobs very seriously, but yourself not so much. You have to be loose. It's a lot of stress. You've got to learn how to take a lot of this stuff in stride.
Yes, great advice. Thank you so much, Annie. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, so how can everybody find you?
Oh man, I have an Instagram. I have 5 photos. They're all of my dogs. So buyer beware if you stop by. Otherwise, we have, bios on our website. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Annie McAllister.
Okay, awesome. Thanks again. Really love talking to you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so if you are looking for a topic that you'd like us to discuss in the future, please don't hesitate to let us know. Head over to my Instagram account and drop me a DM. Annette Naif would love to, get a topic up here that you want to hear about. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you next week. Take care.